Welcome back to the Marvel Movie Minute, a daily podcast which we disassemble a film from the Marvel Cinematic Universe into 1-minute segments and then examine it in obsessive and occasionally hilarious detail. I'm Kyle Olson from the Swashbuckling Ladies Debate Society podcast.
Hey, and I'm Rob Cabasco. And Kyle.
Yes, sir.
For a moment, please close your eyes.
Okay.
I would like you to picture a large anthropomorphic creature of indeterminate species with short arms and legs.
Okay.
Imagine this creature all in purple.
Mm-hmm.
Who am I talking about?
I just realized who you're talking about. And it's Grimace.
Oh, you mean Grimace? You mean that Grimace that was part of McDonald's fun-loving cast of characters that anyone in the 70s or 80s remembers well? You may not have known that Grimace was originally the evil Grimace with two pairs of arms for which he would steal milkshakes from unsuspecting children. After that first campaign, they revised it for him to be one of the good guys, and they reduced the number of his arms by 2. Grimace was last seen at Dodger Stadium on July 18th, 2012, versus the Philadelphia Phillies, dancing to Ram Jam's 1977 classic, Black Betty. Why do I bring this up?
Are you telling me that Grimace is missing?
Oh, Grimace.
Why have we not organized a national manhunt to find Grimace? Call Jason Bourne.
I think he's happy where he is. I think he's cool.
Wait. Are you telling me that Grimace is at a little farm upstate somewhere?
I think he's in a protection program of some kind. I'm not going to say witness.
Hamburglar and Mayor McCheese?
And the Munchkins, the French fry. What were those things? And Mayor McCheese and all of that.
Early Birdie. Yeah.
Okay. Stop. Why did I bring this up? Not because of that. I'm talking about the other Grimace. That's right, the ugly, twisted expression on a person's face, typically expressing disgust, pain, or wry amusement. And that leads us into the beginning of minute. What minute is this? 118.
This is minute 118 of Iron Man 2 from 2010, directed by Mr. Jon Favreau. Where else are you going to get a segue like that, people?
Wow.
So when we actually pick up where we left off, which is in the middle of the closing shot, it turns out that it continues on for about 3 seconds into this minute.
Right.
So we have Senator Stern with his arms around both Tony and Rhodey. Right. After he's pinned the medal maybe a little too aggressively onto Tony's chest.
True.
And they're standing there, all over, and he has as Rob said, he has a grimace on his face, a pained expression of like, I don't want to be here, I don't want to be doing this, but I have to.
And let's just say, I mean, okay, and picture wrap, not only picture wrap on our two main characters, Don Cheadle and Robert Downey Jr., picture wrap on Garry Shandling. God bless Garry Shandling.
Yeah.
Because this was just, he did it. Oh, man. I love it. Right to the end.
Yep.
It's just a great character. Yeah. Nice.
So the AC/DC continues to play over, the credits are rolling. Okay, so a lot of names are going to be flying down here in the credits. So we're not going to look at all of them. We're not going to focus on all of the names that fly by. First of all, the show, every episode from here on out would be like an hour long. It would be incredibly boring. And also, you, my friend, have the internet. So if you really want to find out all these things, you can go to IMDb and click on them like we're doing. So we just sort of went through a couple of these and wanted to highlight a couple of names in this a particular minute here in 118 that we thought were worthy of consideration. And so the first name that comes up and thing is not Jon Favreau, it is not Robert Downey Jr., is in fact the unit production manager. So that's an interesting choice that's what it is. But there's a lot of negotiations that happen with credits and unions and where names are placed and that kind of thing. But also unit production manager is sort of like, if Jon Favreau is the general, then the unit production manager is sort of like the sergeant who actually has to mobilize the entire army that is the making of the movie. Right. So they have to, be in charge of all of the logistics of doing everything around, so the director can focus on, directing.
Right.
So Rob, you looked into a little bit of the first name that pops up. Why don't you tell us a little bit about our boy Basil?
And explain this too, is like, okay, when you think of movie production, even if you're a casual listener or a casual fan of movies, units, everything is a unit. Yes. This unit does this. So this is the person. Imagine if the units were trains. He's the guy who keeps the trains running on time.
Right.
And right, so like each train has their own engineer and stuff. But no, this is the guy that's keeping everything working together, so you can have a movie at the end of the money.
That's right.
So important.
Yes.
Okay, now here's what I love. So our friend Basil, I'm gonna assume it's Basil.
You say basil? I assume it's basil.
Basil. I'm gonna say Basil.
Yeah, basil is usually like the herb.
Oh,
the name is usually Basil. And
Basil.
I only know that because of the Great Mouse Detective.
Thank
Basil
you.
of Baker Street.
Well, let me just tell you this: when you go look up the IMDb listing for him, right? Mm-hmm. Here's what's amazing: there's a couple of movies that he worked on that I was not familiar with. The first one on the list that immediately I recognized, Romy and Michele's high school reunion.
Ah, nice.
He works on, in 97, 98, he works on that. He works on Contact, Deep Impact, and Basketball.
What a year!
Wait, hold on. Like, those are two fairly serious, dramatic films, which, by the way, I enjoy both of those.
Yeah.
Caressed around the edges with two ridiculous comedies. Like, good moves there on the decisions of what you're going to work. I mean, because really, that is a huge range. Okay, some of the movies that really stuck out to me from his list.
Yeah.
Black Hawk Down, Bad Boys 2, Seabiscuit, Garfield, Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy. Yes.
Yeah, I say that is an amazing array of A-list directors that he is working with. So that's Ridley Scott.
Right.
That's Adam McKay.
Yeah, no.
I mean, like, these are big names, and like these directors, we always think of directors as being like the powerful people in Hollywood that can do this stuff.
No, they
picked Basil. Like they said, like, you're the guy who's going to run all logistics, and like and trusted him to handle that kind of that much power and responsibility. That's a pretty big vote of confidence.
And I think I think we mentioned this off show, Bowfinger, which I mean,
there you go. So he's working with Steve Martin,
right? Yeah. And then interspersed in this, I remember this from like 1999. It was a made-for-TV movie, Pirates of Silicon Valley.
Oh yeah,
which attempted to tell the story, the early beginnings of Apple and Microsoft with Bill Gates and Steve Jobs.
Yep.
Wow, okay, amazing. And you can go back. I'm sure, like with any of us, you go back and connect the dots of what you've worked on in your life and what you've done.
Yeah.
You can kind of see where you pick up different things, right, that help you to understand what you've got to do when you're managing this production to get the desired result. I mean, like whether it's action or whether it is comedy or any of these things. I mean, I'm impressed. You know what? He deserves to be the first person on the credit screen.
I was trying to see what he had done recently, and actually he did a little work for he worked for Aaron Sorkin too. He worked on Charlie Wilson's War. So I mean,
Charlie Wilson's War, right?
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Nice. All right, so let's see. The next name that comes up is another unit production manager. So obviously this, once again, a major operation, you need more than one person to do that. So that's Dennis L. Stewart. So I'm always interested in Hollywood, and as I'm learning more, getting a chance to talk to people who actually are doing some of this stuff, even tangentially, I'm learning it's a lot of like, you just kind of stumble into what you can do. So where you end up is not always where you started. So in the case of Dennis Stewart here, he actually started as an actor. He is one of the interesting credits he has is Under Siege 2 Dark Territory, where he was a holy mercenary.
No. The guys who take the boat?
I guess
that's
so.
The one where they take the boat.
Wait. Isn't Dark Territory the train?
Oh, wait, Under Siege 2.
No,
Under Siege is the boat. Wait, Under Siege 2 is on the train. Yes.
Yeah. So that's Steven Seagal on the train. So yeah, he was one of the mercenaries there, and yet ended up as a unit production manager. Like, there's a conversation I would like to have to him of like, at what point did you go like, oh yeah, of course I can manage a production, because he actually became the next became a unit manager. His first credit for that is on Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Oh wow! Wait, that from the 80s? The original one?
Yes. So he was young.
No way!
So I mean, like, I'm not doing stuff in order. I'm just sort of, like I said,
sure.
on his list or whatever. But like, I find that fascinating. But the same kind of thing when you look at like the people that he has worked with over the course of time, and he has let's see, for credits, he has 30 credits as a second unit director or assistant director, which are sometimes the same thing. That's why they can sort of go back and forth. Then he has 12 credits as a production manager, 9 credits as a producer, and then some various and sundry things along the way. But he he was the unit production manager for Panic Room, so that's David Fincher that he's working with. Spider-Man 3, so and Spider-Man 2 actually. So he was working with Sam Raimi. Charlie's Angels Full Throttle, so he's working with McG. I mean, and then eventually he actually would go on to work with Jon Favreau again on Cowboys and Aliens. So. He obviously these guys are. I think you'll enjoy this, Rob. He also was a second assistant director and first assistant director on Hunter for about 5 years.
Wait,
the TV series.
The TV series.
Yes.
Wait, we have Fred Dwyer. Fred Dwyer. Yeah. Wait, what? Oh, that's a show I haven't thought of. Oh my God, that show is amazing.
Yeah. Oh, I also see he was first AD on Under Siege 2, so maybe they just put him in the outfit too. They're just like, hey, while you're here.
Okay, I love. Okay, and I'm a doofus for messing that up because I love Under Siege 2 is far better than I think than the first one. Because the first one was Tommy Lee Jones, and that one was the boat, and no, Under Siege 2 is far better.
Under Siege 2 was
Eric Bogosian.
Eric Bogosian. I was trying to.
Yes.
Eric. I couldn't come up with the last name.
No, I love that movie.
Yeah, from Talk Radio. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. The next name we're gonna talk about is the first assistant director. Okay. So there's obviously the unit production manager can also be second assistant director, but first and second director is Eric Heffron. So Eric Heffron is another one of those guys that started out not necessarily on that path. He was first cadet in North and South Book 1.
Oh,
a very, very famous miniseries about the Civil War from the 80s. I believe Patrick Swayze got his start on that. But then eventually he moved over to the other side of the camera and started doing it. So he has 57 credits as second unit director or assistant director all the way back. So his first one doing that one, the first one I recognize is Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
nice.
But he was also first AD on Twister, so he worked with Jan de Bont, which is exciting.
Oh, wow.
Right, and so he was on the Spider-Man movies. It's interesting. I think there's a lot of connections between like the Spider-Man, Sam Raimi crew and Iron Man crew. We've talked about that all the way through, and Amazing Spider-Man too. Like there's a lot of weird connections between those two, the same people on there. And so he's still working now. He's actually working with Aaron Sorkin on Being the Ricardos, which also has Clark Gregg in it.
Oh, yeah.
So another Marvel connection all the way through. Yeah, then we get into a lot of there's a lot of names start flying by here. We have second assistant director, we have visual effects producer, second unit director. I mean, all incredibly important people. It's just we just don't have the time to go through every single name. So now we get into the cast. So then obviously this is not by order of appearance, which sometimes is in cast lists. This is kind of an order of paycheck.
Yeah, that is pretty much how it looks.
That's kind of how it looks like it's because it's by I think by fame level, it also translates to the people who are paid the most to least, kind of. I mean, that's always the way, but that's the way. So because it starts out with, of course, our DJ himself, Robert Downey Jr., and then Gwyneth, then Don Cheadle, then Scarlett Johansson, Sam Rockwell. Like it's sort of going down the line of what you'd expect, like on a movie poster. We see Kate Mara's name pops up in there.
I was going to say, and interesting, like Kate Mara shows up before Jon Favreau.
Yeah. True.
So I mean,
she had one scene.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And like right below Jon Favreau's name is Christiana Amanpour.
Yes.
It's like, okay. But so then as they go down, there's a lot of one scene people. We see Larry Ellison gets credit above DJ AM, Adam Goldstein.
Right.
I think it would have switched it around, but now there we get to see Ali Khan, as we talked about, playing the 10 Rings gangster. That was another thing that we talked about, is that it's connected. And now they sort of de-emphasize that in the movie, and now need to re-emphasize it because the 10 Rings mean a whole different thing to us now here in late 2021. Whenever it is, wherever you are.
There's a lot more people portraying themselves than you'd think after you go through the movie.
True.
Elon Musk, and they have Stanley, obviously, as himself.
Yep, that's right. And right above that, of course, is one of our favorites, Eugene Lazarev. Of the Saint.
Yes. Yep. Total.
And a lot of other things. We talked a lot about him in the first couple of minutes of the movie. Wow, it seems so long ago.
I know.
There's Elon Musk. There's Olivia Munn. They both those names both show up in there. We have Alejandro Patino, the strawberry vendor, the overqualified for the role that he was given, but gig's a gig, and I'm sure the residual checks must be still coming in.
And we talked about Devin Ransom, who was the young Tony Stark in the scenes from the Howard Stark film collections.
Yeah, and so we get into stunts. We get into Thomas.
Well, wait,
Robinson
and you got to
Harper
mention who's the
stunt
last
coordinator.
who's
the
the last person.
Last name is my boy Jack White.
Yes.
So the major domo of and food preparer for Justin Hammer. So yeah, he rounds out the cast list. Then we move to the stunt coordinator. Thomas Robinson Harper is the stunt coordinator. We see Jeff Amata. Jeff Amata is a very well known name in terms of stunts. I believe he actually did some work on Buffy, which always puts him in a higher thing than me. We can see all the stunt doubles. The big name there you should be checking out is Heidi Moneymaker.
Yes.
She just showed up in Black Widow. She actually rounded out her entire run. So she was Black Widow here at the beginning, and she just wrapped her final thing as Black Widow stunt double in the Black Widow movie.
Well done.
Well done. So another veteran of the things that she served 10 years. So basically, as long as Scarlett's been Natasha, Heidi Moneymaker has also been Natasha, so nice in there. We see Happy Stunt Double Dave Rowden. He was one of the thugs and that was menacing there. We get you. I would love to talk about all these people, but there's just so many. And then we get utility stunts, and there's all these hardworking people who took a lot of bumps. Probably got pulled away from a lot of explosions.
So what is the now you get into
stand-ins?
The stand-in. So what is the stand-in is for?
Stand-in.
Right.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Okay, so because I actually had a friend who was a stand-in on a AAA movie. So he. So I'm gonna try and I'm going through my head to make sure that he'd be okay with me telling the story. Yes, I will tell the story. I just won't say who it is because nothing tragic. I was just sort of like this was his one sort of brush with fame, and now he's moved on to other things. So in the movie Forces of Nature.
Ben Affleck?
Starring Ben Affleck, that's right.
Yes.
Ben Affleck,
Sandra
Ben
Bullock.
Affleck, and
Sandra Bullock and Ben Affleck. Yes.
Right. It's a odd little romantic comedy about a couple. It's sort of like a much lighter version of Before Sunrise. So it's like two people who sort of meet on a train and have this series of adventures all the way through, and are they falling in love? Are they not? It is. All
I know is this movie always gets souped in with Hope Floats, and Hope Floats is better.
Hope Floats is better. I give Forces of Nature a lot of credit because it doesn't conclude the way you think it would.
Right. True. Yes.
So I mean, whether that's good or bad, I don't know. But I like the fact that they are walking you down a path and you think you're going one way, and then they give you a swerve at the end. So I give them points for that. Is it a great movie? You judge for yourself. But I mean, it is worth, especially if you're a Sandra Bullock completionist. So shout out to our friend Mandy, who's seen every Sandra Bullock movie and who does not listen to this show, so she will never hear it.
She'll never hear this
because she can't stand Marvel movies. So anyways, back to Forces of Nature. So he was cast as a stand-in for Sandra Bullock's boyfriend in the movie.
Okay.
I can't even remember what the character's name was, but basically that guy was, it was a one scene kind of thing. And so he got to do this. So what that means is they find someone who has the approximate height, weight, build, skin color, hair color, all that kind of stuff of the person. So they want to have someone who's has the same physical dimensions in space and pigmentation of the person, because their job is to go and stand on the mark that the actor will be standing on, and they can do all the lighting, camera, special effects, even tests on that person, and not use the star's time, because it could be that when a stand-in's there, the actor might not even be on set.
Right.
I mean, it could very well be that they're doing this to have this ready, so when the actor shows up, because obviously actors are in high demand. I'm not doing this as they're in their trailer.
Right.
Watching old movies or whatever. I would say their time is highly regimented. So they have to be all these different things, because a lot of times they're promoting one movie while they're shooting another one, and those things have to happen at the same time. So the stand-in is a lot of times there just to make sure that the production can keep rolling while the actor is otherwise occupied. And so it's a lot of just standing around. Literally what they call a stand-in, that's usually what they're doing, is they're just standing. They're on the mark, standing as they're adjusting lighting and camera and stuff around them.
Oh, all right.
Not a glamorous job, but
No.
an important one to keep things going. And also the fact that you have to keep the same, like you have to have that you don't have to look like the person,
Right.
but you have to have the same sort of physical dimensions. And a lot of actors get really actually close to their stand-ins. I think that Robert Downey Jr. actually has used the same stand-in for like the last 10 years.
Oh, wow.
If I remember hearing that story right. But so like so they can sort of bring these people along on the way.
Do you know, that is amazing? I kind of had I had a suspicion of what that was. I have recollections from different making of things that I've watched. What is amazing to me about that is that to think, you wonder why movies cost so much.
Yeah.
The fact that you have so many people, the lighting, the shot, all those compositions for almost every scene. Some scenes obviously are different in terms of their composition, but for every scene, you're doing a lot of pre-work. There's a lot of people working to make every shot count, and that's phenomenal. I mean, kudos to everybody.
And I just remembered why the Robert Downey Jr. thing came up. Brian Schaefer is in the movie. Like I forgot. That's why. Like I'm like I know it's tickling at the back of my brain, and I just remembered. And for those of you who are listening, you just heard this 10 episodes ago. It was a little longer for us.
Yes.
He was the Hammer Expo tech. He was the guy who was on the keyboards next to.
Pepper.
Pepper.
Yes.
That was Brian Schaefer. So that is Robert Downey Jr. stand-in, and he has worked with. He's basically, done this job for Robert Downey Jr. for all this time. He was in Endgame. He was because he's a guy who's always been around. They actually have had him in as a bunch of stuff. So let's see. This was his first on-screen role, but he shows up in Iron Man 3. He is a mercenary in Age of Ultron. He's a cultural attaché in Civil War. So obviously, as the years go by and Marvel Movie Minute continues on, his name will come up again. But he has 10 different credits on IMDb, and I think they're all just little roles because he was doing the stand-in work for RDJ.
Oh, nice. Oh, very cool. As we wrap up, as we come to the end of the minute, I guess the line we've got to certainly give some reverence to is the based on the Marvel comic book by.
Yes.
And there are 4 names.
This is interesting, right. So we just got past the Iron Net Dancers. If you want to hear about the Iron Net Dancers, you can go back to the early things.
Please do, exactly.
They deserve their time and respect too, but I feel like we gave it to them there, so let's move on to here. So based on the Marvel comic book by, and there are 4 names. So there are a couple that Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Huge names. Like there would not be a Marvel Comics without these 2 things. The third name you might, at least I'm not doing it in order, I'm doing it in the order of how I want to present them, because that's how we do things here. Larry Lieber. So Larry Lieber is Stan Lee's brother. So Stan Lee is actually short for Stan Lieber. But he changed it because he thought that he was going to be a super famous novelist, and comics were the dirty side job that he was working on just to pay the bills while he was working on the great American novel. But then, of course, he came up with Fantastic Four, and the great American novel sort of disappeared into the mist. And
it became a lot more colorful.
Right. Yeah. And so, from there, of course, then it created this amazing thing that we are talking about these days. So, and Larry Lieber was his brother, and also did a ton of writing. He actually did a bunch of writing on Thor, but at the time, they were basically handing off anything at the time just because they were trying to get stuff out the door. So he actually did a lot of writing on Iron Man as well during the early days, because Stan Lee was writing so many comics at the time. He was sort of just like, here's some ideas, and he would hand it off to Larry, and Larry would actually script it. And go on there. And so the last name is a name we have not talked about. And his name is Don Heck. So Don Heck was unfortunately he's no longer with us, but he was a major artist in what they call the Silver Age. So like this is the time that that Iron Man and stuff and the Avengers and stuff sort of really boomed. And so he was if you should look him up, because obviously we're doing an audio podcast. You should go look up just his art to see sort of what he was doing, because Jack Kirby has a very distinctive style, but Don Heck has a very interesting style too. And you can see nobody draws like Jack Kirby. I mean, unless they're actually trying to like Kirby. But like what we think of as the traditional Silver Age comic, like Don Heck was the guy who was the architect that everybody went, oh yeah, I want to do that. Like they started doing everything like him. He went on to do a ton of great comics. And see, I think I found a quote. Roy Thomas. Roy Thomas was the editor-in-chief for Marvel for a really long time. So he had a great quote about him that is on his Wikipedia page. So I'm going to read that here. And he said, Don was unlucky enough, I think, to be a non-superhero artist who, starting in the 60s, had to find his niche in a world dominated by superheroes. Fortunately, as he proved first with Iron Man and then with the Avengers, Don could rise to the occasion because he had a real talent and a good grounding in the fundamentals. He amalgamated into his own style certain aspects of Jack Kirby's style and carved out a place for himself as one of the handful of artists who have real importance during the very early days of Marvel. So yes, he is like for Marvel, he would be one of like the 9 old men, if you know Disney lore.
In Disney lore,
He'd be one of the fundamental guys who helped establish the house style, and that everything from there on was on there. So yeah, we have not talked about him either in the comic book episode, which is an oversight on my part, or in this side, but like he is well deserving of this credit, and even more.
Isn't he? Now he's responsible. Like when you think of like when I've seen classic, the origins of Iron Man in the comics. There's this famous panel of the Mark I Iron Man suit, and he's like pulling apart. It looks like a rock face. It's Iron Man is Born, because I've seen it a lot on like available on posters and like different vendors and stuff. That's him, right?
Yeah,
I mean that's his stuff. Okay.
Right. Yeah, I mean, he did a ton of Marvel work too, but like this is So he and like I say when you go up and look at his style, you'll look at it and go, oh yeah. Like if you're a comic book fan, you'll like even if you don't know him particularly, you'll recognize the style.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
He's an important dude.
Well, thanks to all those gentlemen, because that's
the only reason that we're here.
That's it. Exactly.
Yeah. So we get into sort of art director and film character designers and that kind of stuff. So I feel right at the last second of the thing, an important name comes up that we have talked about, and that's Ryan Meinerding. So he is actually one of the concept artists that helped create the look, and so he actually has done great stuff. You should definitely 100% follow him on Instagram, because his Instagram is fantastic, because he posts, he's still working for Marvel, and he posts the art that he did. So I think recently he did a thing about Black Widow, all the stuff he had done for Black Widow. So like whenever something comes out, he goes, oh yeah, I did the design on this. And so like I said, there's Captain America, there's Iron Man, there's whatever it is. He did a ton of work, and I happen to be lucky enough to have met him. So I have a piece of his original art on my wall. Obviously it's a print because I'm not that well off. But but I got to meet him. I got to say how much I like his stuff. I got to say anything. I got to chat with him for just like 5 minutes as we were cycling through. And basically what I asked him is, how hard is it to keep these secrets? I'm like, because in your head, you know what the next like 5 movies that haven't even been announced are. And he says like, it's really hard, because I have to be constantly thinking, has that been announced yet? Like, can I talk about that yet? Because as we're, excited about whatever it is at that time that you're listening to the Shang-Chi or Eternals or whatever it is, like he's already thinking about Phase 5.
Oh yeah,
because
for sure.
Because as a concept artist, you have to be way ahead of the tracks,
right?
Because the train's coming, but you need to be like way down there designing the bridge, that they're not going to cross for another 10 years, whatever it is. Like you have to be thinking way down the line. So yeah, that was thing. And he was super nice and couldn't have been, more accommodating and fun to chat with.
Well, and recently, he's the artist of, I think was probably the most famous Chadwick Boseman tribute art piece that came out following his death. It was the one of the Black Panther portrait with the kind of tree, from the movie and stuff making up that, and then these like sort of like lighter versions of Chadwick Boseman's face and stuff behind it. That was the one that I remember the most, and I believe that was his artwork from then. So
I would say like that's the thing is if you like any of the look of Marvel, it's because of him. I mean, like obviously there's a bunch of other guys. Andy Park is a big thing, but like this is Iron Man 2, and there he is. Like that was his first stuff with Marvel, and so everything from there on, just went on to it. And like I said, he's still doing the job. So let's see. He is at Ryan Meinerding. I apologize if I'm not pronouncing his name correctly. Ryan _Meinerding _art, and then he's actually at Meinerding art on Twitter.
Yeah. No, excellent stuff.
I think he currently is, his title is VP and Creative Director of Visual Development at Marvel Studios. Whew, that is a nice thing to have on your business card.
That's not well. That would be the last business card. I would think that would be it. Like, okay, I'm done.
Like,
Thank
come
you.
on. Like, just like set that down in front of somebody and have them go.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
Yeah, and his name right at the bottom of the thing. That is where our minute comes to an end. So that is what we have for 118. But if you like seeing text flowing on screen, a great place to check that out would be Discord, because that's actually how Discord works. You type a thing and it moves up, and you type a thing and it moves up. It's like your own credit scene that's rolling all the time. And it happens that Next Reel has our very own Discord community, and the Marvel Movie Minute has its very own Discord channel. So you can just go to nextreel.com/discord and go in there, or go to nextreel.com, scroll down to the Discord link, click on it, join the community. It's free. We have all of our shows are on there, including this one. So hop in, chat, do whatever it is that you do on Discord. Post memes, whatever it is. Post your outrage about the fact that we didn't talk about aerial coordinator Kevin LaRosa.
Okay.
He coordinated all the aerials. How could you not have mentioned him?
I know, but you tell him don't encourage.
Outrage. Jeez. That's how you build a following, right?
I know. I'm a little fragile.
Yeah. So, obviously we'll be back here to talk about the 19 as more names fly by. I can guarantee you that those of you who might have been a little bored, I can give you a little sneak preview that these episodes will not all be us reading names.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so in case you're thinking to yourself, like, oh man, is this going to be like 10 episodes of them just like reading names off? No, we have some surprises coming along.
No, you should stay stay tuned.
Subscribed.
There's a conversation coming.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah,
you'll see.
We'll talk about it. We'll see that. So, but until then, enough said.
Bye.